Before I get too ahead of myself, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Jesus DJ Perez, and I am a global preacher and a global ambassador of well-being, as well as a global ambassador of the gospel of the Word of God, and living a mindful life. And you know what? In all reality, I do a lot of things. In all fairness, just like many of you. I also consult many different companies when they require some assistance with some products, like branding, marketing, and whatnot. But I keep that in the hush hush because it's one of those things that I enjoy doing, but I also like to do it in a smaller capacity, right? So, anyways. Today, I wanted to share with you a super amazing love story from like a movie, and that's just, I'm sure everyone else's love story is just as powerful and as deep and empowering, right? But the way I like to see it, to share with you is because this love story was not meant it was not happening out of coincidence. This love story was actually the stars aligned perfectly in a way that Liz, my beautiful bride, and I were able to connect with one another. And allow me to show you here. I want to show you a picture of Liz and I back in 1999 when we first met. Woo, baby, look at how handsome and how beautiful couple we are right there, right? So you see, when we first met, this was back in 1999, and we had an opportunity to come into each other's path. And in all fairness, we didn't think it was going to happen just like that. I never really expected it to happen. But let me tell you what happened exactly here. See, when we first met, right, Liz? You look amazing. You look amazing. And me with the brown hair and color hair and different colors of hair, right? As you can see, I love to have a lot of fun with my hair, even though that right now it looks like a palm tree or like grass and growing out of control. But you see, when we first met, okay, this was back in 1999, and the story I'm about to tell you is how we met. And that's really what I wanted to share with you. So if you want to know and you want to watch, well, then stick around and you can stay here and watch how things happen for us. But I know a lot of people are out and about celebrating Valentine's Day. So either way, you can always come back and watch the replay if you absolutely have to go, right? Otherwise, stick around and I'll share with you this love story here over the next few minutes. But essentially, back in 99, I was living and working in Mexico City. And life presents challenges. You kind of test each other's thoughts, plans, and purposes in life. See, and before I decided to move away from Mexico City in 1999, I was working as a bartender in one of the local trendy restaurants in Mexico City. And I was even performing a show as a bartender where I would lit the bar on fire and I would jump on top of the bar and then, play just like Tom Cruise in that movie called Cocktail. Well, he was my inspiration and why I did it, right? So I was, doing a similar show, my own flair, of course, where I would lit the bar on fire, jump on the bar and play with bottles, make a drink, and then give it to somebody from the audience, right? So one of my managers at the time saw me and he liked it so much that he told me, dude, you got to move to Cancun. You got to go to Cancun and really exploit your talent there because the tourists love that. And I was like, come on, man, really? What am I going to do in Cancun? I'm like, I don't know anybody there. And he's like, you should go to Cancun and get a job at a nightclub and you'll see how many people will fall in love with what you do. So sure enough, a couple days later, I gave my notice, and out of the blue, I said, okay, you know what, I'm gonna move to Cancun. Why not? So I decided to pack my one bag and took a 24-hour bus ride to Cancun from Mexico City. But at the time, I only knew a few sentences here and there, you know, a few English sentences, I should say. Nothing really fancy, nothing more than just restaurant lingo, you know, for me to either take your drink order or your food order. And that was the extent of my English at the time. Ooh, can I get some love right there? Woo, baby, woo. But then guess what happened? So, you know, I arrived to Cancun and I started to look for a job at different nightclubs. And sure enough, I get hired on the spot at one of these nightclubs. And without really looking for much, I got a job right away. And so they didn't hire me as a bartender, though. They hired me as a buzzer. You know, so I was like, okay, whatever. At least I'm in. I got a job, and they accepted me with the little English I knew and whatnot. So I was like, I can always move up. And sure enough, within maybe 2 weeks later, I got promoted as a server, and then I started to work as a server, and you know everything was fine and dandy until one day the low season was coming. And Vishal, my brother, so good to see you. How are you? Thank you so much for being here, my brother. Thank you for your love and encouragement. And as I'm working at this nightclub in Cancun back in 1999, you know, I get an opportunity to pick up some shifts because the low season was coming. And if you know about Cancun a little bit, you know that you need to prepare for the low season between September and December, because that's when most people, well, you know, go back to school, and the travelers are no longer looking to travel to a warm destination. You know, people from Canada, people from the States, they, you know, they're just getting ready for the holiday season, right? So for us in Mexico, it's very much the same, where the holiday season is all the way until December, but between this September and December is kind of quiet. So people were taking time off, and that was the best time to go visit your family if you were from out of town. Well, it just so happened that I just arrived to Cancun the month before, and I had no intention to leave Cancun right away, as I just been there for a few weeks and I wanted to stay there for a long period of time. So when this is happening, this server comes by, one of my colleagues, and he's like, hey, you know, tomorrow Monday, I want to take an extra day off because I'm off on Tuesday and Wednesday. So would you like to pick up my Monday shift? And I say, sure, I'll pick up your Monday shift. But you see, I was scheduled to be off on Monday and many other days of the week because I was the newbie, right? So I said, sure, I'll take your shift. So this server takes his days off. I'll show up the next evening to work at the nightclub, and there are only two servers for the entire nightclub: this other guy and me. And so one of the managers comes over to both of us, and you know, he knows what to expect, and he's like, okay, so we're gonna flip a coin because we might only have one table for the entire evening. That is low of a season, okay? And I say, okay, well, let's flip a coin. Whoever wins, well, takes the first table. And if another table happens to walk in, then whoever loses take the next table, and we'll play by ear. Maybe you'll be home by 2 o'clock in the morning, when generally speaking, we would be finishing work anywhere between 5 and 6 a.m. So I said, okay, sure, let's flip a coin. And guess what? I lost the coin toss. I lost the coin toss, and my buddy won the coin toss. And then at that point, you know, he was so excited because at least he was going to make money to make it back home, eat the next day kind of idea, right? So I was like, whatever, you know, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and whatever. So the lights go off, the music starts going, and everything is just start booming and whatnot in the nightclub, right? Just like any other given day. And then, you know, it's getting later and later, and nothing is happening, man. Like literally nothing. No one is coming through the door, and it's getting late already. So my buddy is like, you know what? Keep an eye on things. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, have a smoke, and I'll come back. Mind you, at the time, you were allowed to smoke inside the nightclubs, but as a staff, we were not allowed to smoke inside the nightclub, so he had to go to the bathroom. So as he was going to the bathroom to smoke a cigarette, a table of three beautiful ladies walking through the door. My wife now, her sister, and her mom. Okay? And when they walk in through the door, I I rush to go see them. And that's when Liz and I first met, as the picture is showing right now on your screen. That's when we first met at that nightclub. And the guy to the left of the picture on your screen, that was one of the guys who was there happen that was working, right? And well, little did he know when we are when I'm talking to them at the table, another table comes and sits on his section. So there was no issue, right? So he had a table, I had a table, even though he won the coin toss, but he was gone. So if you're gone, if you snooze, you lose, right? So, and you know, such a beautiful story, because as they're sitting there and I'm talking to them, and you know, I knew I had to make my evening with these three ladies. I knew that I had to make enough money to last me for a few days on tips. So sure enough, I'm dancing with them and taking them out to the dance floor and entertaining them, being a great host, you know. And we're all four of us are having a great time at the dance floor, and they just keep on going, dancing. I'm going back, getting drinks, and you know, the whole night goes like that. But then, don't do it. then then Liz and I connected, you know. Liz and I connected, and well, to keep it G-rated, we ended up spending a whole week of amazing time, where the following day she came back, and for the next few days she stayed there in Cancun for about a whole week. And the full week she came back to see me every night at the nightclub. And when her mom and her sister would arrive, you know, they will specifically ask for me. But the story doesn't end right there, okay? The story doesn't end right there. At the end of the week, sure enough, they went back to the States, because they were living in the States at the time. And when they go back to the States, she gave me her number, and she's like, call me, you know, let's continue the conversation over the phone, and I'll come back and see you. I'll come back to see you. And I was like, sure, you will come back. Yeah, right. You know, that was very typical for any tourist to tell the wait staff, I'm coming back to see you. I'm coming back. Well, guess what? She came back 3 months later. She came back 3 months later, but this time they stayed for 3 full weeks. And towards at the end of the third week, this was in December, you know, and I'm just skipping a lot of stuff, right? But during those 3 months of us being away, one day I got so drunk, and I decided to call collect in the middle of the night, around 3, 4 in the morning. And I called collect, and with my very little English, I don't know how the booze inspired me to have full conversations with her in English. Because at the beginning, during those 3 months, after I call collect, she's like, you know what? Her dad answered the phone, and I'm like, hey, this is so on and so from Cancun. I'm calling call collect, and I want to talk to Liz. And so her dad goes and wakes her up, and he's like, somebody's on the phone calling for you. Call collect. So get up and deal with it. She goes to the phone, and she's like, hey, what's going on here, right? Like, I'm right here, what's up? And I'm just talking and talking. And she's like, okay, listen, I'll call you on Sunday. I'll call you to your work on Sunday. And when we're looking into all of these conversations, you know, fear got the best out of me. Okay, so I got one of my buddies at work to pick up the phone and to pretend it was me talking on the phone with her. And he would be talking to her, and he would be translating to me, and he'd be covering the phone. He's like, oh, she said this. Or, oh, tell her that. And he'd be like, blah, 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 talking to her, pretending it was me. And we did it, if I don't know how many weeks, months, but we probably talked like that with one another. But her thinking it was me who she was talking to for probably 2 months. And then eventually my body got let go, and I had to step up and really grab the phone, face my fear, and actually talk to her. And to my surprise, I was actually a lot better on the phone than I thought I was. But you see, but I had to face my fear. And how many times do we go through life facing, fearing that something is not good enough? I'm not good enough, and we let great opportunities pass in front of us. Imagine, had I let fear get the best out of me, I would not still be married with her. 25 years later, well, actually 26, the anniversary happening this coming September in this year, but imagine, right? And I'm so glad I grabbed the phone. I picked up that phone, and I faced my fears, and I just went to town talking to her. Well, when she came back, like I said, she came back 3 months later, right? She came back to Cancun, and she ended up staying with me for 3 weeks. So I said to her, towards the last week, listen, why don't you stay an extra week with me? Life was easy for me. I was 20-year-old, and I was like, why don't you stay one more week with me, and then, we'll just continue having amazing time. So she's like, all right. And I was like, oh, she said, yes, okay. So we talk to her mom. Her mom says, well, you're over 18, so you can do whatever you want. So we call her dad, and her dad says it's the same thing, right? But if he's going to take care of you, so he's got to step up and take care of you. Well, my friends, ever since we have been together, that was back in December of 1999, when, the Y2K and the whole shebang of people, going crazy and whatnot. That's when we first met, and ever since we have been side by side, supporting one another, cheering for one another through thin and thick, through ups and downs, and everything else in between. Because by the time her 1 week, that I say 1 week, well, she ended up staying more than 1 week with me. I said to her, listen, all I got for you, all I can give you is my heart. I don't have all this money. I don't have this lifestyle that you might be used to in the States or in Canada. I don't have all the hundreds of thousands of pesos or dollars for that matter. I don't have anything like that. What you see right here is all I have. And I had a mattress on the floor, a little radio, and a little TV, and a couple of blankets. That was the extent of what I had back then. And I said, so if you stay with me, I can promise you this. I'm going to give you my heart forever and ever. Because I'm not going to give you the lifestyle that you are coming from North America, but I'm going to love you. I'm going to love you with all my heart. And I'm going to be there for you no matter what, through thin and thick, through donation, to concussions, through everything. Yeah, through your kidney donation and concussions and everything. And you know what, my friends? I was raw and transparent with her. I could have sugar-coated things for her. I could have lied to her. But one thing for sure that has worked for us in our relationship is that we are transparent with one another. We are genuinely transparent with one another. And sometimes it hurts, and many times has hurt a lot when we are transparent with one another. But it's better to be honest and not keep the truth away from her, or vice versa, right? It's just been one of those things that we love to be there for each other. And we know that sometimes speaking the truth can hurt, not just the other person, but it can hurt you because you become vulnerable, right? And believe me, I have bawled my eyes in front of her hundreds of times. And I'm not ashamed of it, because she knows I'm speaking from my heart. She knows I'm speaking from within, from the inside out. And my friends, this is just an amazing time for all of us to really enjoy those around us, love those around us. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you the last piece of the puzzle here for us, because when a couple years later we moved to Canada in 2001, and so I came through to face a cultural shock. Many of us immigrants that come into Canada, we face cultural shocks, language barriers, cultural barriers, adapting to society, and you name it. You name it. There are so many different things that become obstacles and barriers and stumbling blocks on in anyone's relationship. Your own life. Okay. And the first few years were really rough, so bad, because we were learning to coexist. We were learning to adapt. We were learning to respect one another. But one day, I said, that's it. Enough is enough. I don't want to keep fighting with you. I don't want to keep arguing with you. And this has been like 15 years ago when we had this conversation. We say, I don't want to have any more arguments with you. So, zero expectations. In other words, release attachment to the outcome. Do not be expecting anyone to come and get you out of the hole, basically. I'm not expecting my wife to go and make dinner, for example. See, I'm from Mexico, and Mexicans in general are very machos. Not everybody, but there are a lot of Mexicans who are very machos and expect the woman to go and make dinner. They go to work, and let's not go that far. My mom's ex, he was like that. He was the type of guy who was expecting to have dinner served at the table when he would come home. And if dinner wasn't to his liking, to his satisfaction, he would throw the plates away and didn't care where the plate landed. The plate would crash and shatter into pieces, and he would get mad at my mom because dinner was not to his expectations. And things like that. So you see, I grew up with that type of behavior around me. So I made a choice. I said, I don't want to be like that, and I refuse to be like that. First of all, he's not my father, he's my sister's father, but I was like, I refuse to live like that because I know how miserable my mom was. So we said, no expectations. If you want to do something for me, then awesome. If you don't, awesome. If I want to do something for you, great. If I don't, great as well, right? And that has worked for us a lot of the time, and most of the time, But there's a bonus thing, one more thing here. We decided to place our relationship on the hands of God. We have God as our foundation in our marriage. And you see, I want to show you something right here on my hand. There it is. See my ring right there? Right? You see my ring? It's tattooed. And it has the 3-rope, I forgot the name in English. Jesus. At least if you know the name of this, please put it in the comments below. It has a 3-rope knot where one is God, husband and wife. Not necessarily husband and wife in that order, but God is definitely first. God is the head of the family. God is the head of the household. And that's how we decided to live our life, by giving God that acknowledgement and honoring Him. Knowing that my wife is there to support me, knowing that I'm there to support her as well equally. But putting our decisions on the hands of God, putting our life on the hands of God, and everything that we do, even if it is that tiny, we place it in front of God and say, God, what do you want us to do with this? And believe me, not always happens. Sometimes we make irrational decisions without really thinking about it, but then we see the consequences of things. Anyways, my friends, it's been an amazing pleasure to be here tonight. And I know we have some viewers jumping in here last minute, so I encourage you to watch this from the beginning, my friends. Go watch this from the beginning. There is so much to watch. There is so much fun to have here this evening because, I wanted to keep it tonight super casual. I wanted to keep it super loving. Super loving, where we have an opportunity to a crowd note. Yeah, I think so. I think it's what it's called. I honestly forgot the name, but In Spanish, is el nudo de tres, de tres nudos, la cuerda de tres nudos. In other words, it's a 3-in-1, 3-in-1, right? That's what my ring means, 3-in-1. God, Liz, and I into one, become one all together, right? My friends, thank you again so much for being here today. It's been an unreal pleasure. I love you. I love you. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. This is the long weekend for us here in Alberta, so happy long weekend. We'll see you later. Thank you very much.